if you are a man over 60 and you only have time for a handful of exercises each week, which ones actually keep you strong, balanced, dependent? I'm making 20 exercises from S to F. Now let's get into it. The first one I'm going to rank is brisk walking. So when you walk very fast, brisk walking. Let's see where that goes. So brisk walking, for me, that goes straight into the S tier, the highest tier. Now that might surprise most of you, because a lot of you might think, well, walking briskly, how much is of an exercise is that? Well, wait until you get, if you're not 60 yet, wait until you get over 60. You realize that that's quite tasking. It's very powerful on the lower body. It's low impact, and it's very good for your cardiovascular. So brisk walking goes straight to the S tier. It's also quite accessible. It's scalable, and it's one of the best foundations for stamina, mobility, and long-term independence after 60. So I have no qualms in putting that on the S tier. All right, so did that surprise you? Let's keep going. So the next one is stationary cycling, one of my favorite. Now you tell me where you think that might go. So stationary cycle, that goes into the B tier. The first to go into the B tier. Did you expect that? Well, again, why did it go to the B tier? Why not S? Why not A? Or some of the other tiers? It's very simply that it is low impact cardio, which is very good, and absolutely, but it's also, but it has less carryover to standing strength, balance, and real life movement. So it is a good one for cardio, and it is low impact, but the carryover to day-to-day life for an over 60 is not at the top tier. So that's why it doesn't make the S or A tier. So let's keep going. The next one I'm going to rank is sit to stand. Now sit to stand is wherein you sit down and you stand up again. I've done several videos on this, mostly on using a chair, or sometimes just using a body weight and going down to the floor and then getting up again. This is quite powerful when it comes to lower body strength. And as you know, in this channel, we are a big advocate for lower body strength. So where do you think that will go? Okay, so sit to stand exercise. So sit to stand exercise, for me, that goes straight again to S tier. Did you expect that? Probably you did, after all the explanations I've given. So in practice, this is really good. And crucially, if you cannot get up of a chair, and I've said this in some of the videos, confidently or without help or without support, you become that means you are frail. It means you are not independent. And think about all the places where we have to get up from a sitting position to a standing position. Think about if you are at a dining table. Think about if you are on a sofa. Think about when you are in a car, coming out of a car. Think about a toilet. So all these areas, they are not necessarily areas people think about if they are younger and they are capable. But once you get old, these become really areas where you must be capable. Otherwise, you are losing strength. And not only that, if you're losing strength, but you're also losing your independence. And if you lose your independence, you are losing your dignity. So just bear that in mind. There are so many videos on this channel about that. So I suggest after this one, go and listen to them. You will see why this goes to S tier without any debate at all. Now let's crack on. The next one is I'm going to rank is the goblet squat. The goblet squat is where you hold a goblet. Hopefully you know what that is. And then you squat. You go down to as low as possible and then stand up again. Now this is powerful as you can imagine, for your lower body strength. And again, I have no hesitation in putting that onto the STR. Quite frankly, it is very similar in motion to the sit to stand movement, but here with a weight, so it's even more powerful in improving your lower body strength. So again, I have no hesitation in putting there. It builds real lower body strength with a clear safety target, and it makes it hugely practical after 60-year-olds. You can have this at your home. All you need is one goblet, and then if you have that, and if all you did was 2 or 3 and you progress from there every day, that will strengthen your lower legs even better than just sit to stand up. So in fact, that's a progression from the previous one in terms of strengthening your lower body, in terms of strengthening your legs. Okay, let's crack on. What's the next one? So the next one I'm going to rank is the step up exercise. The step up is, you have to imagine you got a step, a single step, and you stand up with 2 feet, and then at one leg at a time you step onto the step, and then you step back down again. And by doing that, you are exercising quite a lot. Now let's rank that. What is that? Where does that go? Single leg is great for, so that goes straight away to A tier. The first one on the A tier, so it's slightly under S, but even above B. So why does it go there? It's great for single leg strength. It allows for unilateral exercise, and it enables you really to climb stairs. If you think about how many times we climb stairs, so this transfers straight away to that real life movement and control, but only if the step height is sensible. So make sure the step height is sensible, and I will have it such that it is strenuous enough to step up and down, but not too much, so that you don't trip. Make sure you're safe. So this is really one of those, again, just like the sit to stand up, just like the goblet squat. This is transferable for in your day-to-day movement as an over 60. Because if you think about all the stairs you have to climb, imagine going to a shopping mall, coming back with your bags, and of course there's upper body strength involved, but let's for now think about just walking up the stairs into your condo or your apartment. Just if you don't have the lower body strength, you won't be able to make it. Or just ordinarily, really going upstairs and downstairs, think about all the places. Or even walking off a lower part of the street, climbing up a curb. If you don't have that lower body strength to climb up a stair and have that coordination, you won't be able to make it. Or even trying to, if you tripped on off a higher area and stepping down, if your body has not been trained to do that, you won't have the muscle memory to keep safe. So it's quite important to train this. So let's keep going. The next one is supported split squat. What is supported split squat? This is where you hold your somewhere and you support yourself, and then you keep your legs. You put one foot in front and the other one behind, and then you squat with the foot in front, getting the knee, the leg, the thigh becoming parallel to the floor, and then the other one really goes down, and then you swap them one at a time. So that is really so powerful, because what it does is it allows you to do that unilateral movement for your 2 legs. It enables you to not only have the training, but it also flexes the legs, it stretches the glutes. So where does that go? So supported split squat goes into, can you speculate, can you guess? It goes to the B tier, and quite rightly so. It's useful exercise, but many men over 60, it's a bit more fiddly and harder to organize well. So in effect, it's a bit more involved. It's not one straight movement, you have to swap the legs, but I can guarantee it's quite worth it, because it brings to your lower body, it brings to your lower legs what the other exercises don't necessarily bring in. So it can be fiddly to have to juggle the legs, do one leg and then swap and do the other leg, but it's quite important to do. Okay, so that's your supported split squat. The next one we have to do is a dumbbell Romanian deadlift. Ooh, we're now into deadlifts. So, but instead of a barbell, we are using here a dumbbell. So what you do here is you have your dumbbells and you keep your feet quite apart, and then you do your deadlift. If you know how a deadlift works, is you basically have your hip, basically your glutes back, and your knees straight, and then you, if it's a barbell, you pull the barbell up and you put it down into a dead position, and you do that again. But for the dumbbell, it's the same thing, but this time you're using dumbbells. And the good thing here is you have your legs apart. Is excellent for glutes, and particularly the hamstrings, because most times the hamstrings are the ones that don't get the exercise at all. They are, for one thing, they're in our posterior, we don't see them, and it also allows for that hip hinge, which we normally don't get very well because we are always sat in a position that is supported by a chair. So, but the technique matters more here. This is key. If you don't do this very well, or you don't have, it's a technical movement. If you don't understand the technique, probably it's not worth attempting it because you could get injured. But if you can do this, I can tell you now, this is one, it's just a little bit short of an S tier, so it goes into the A tier. I wonder if you expected that. Okay, so let's keep going. The next one is a farmer carry. Now, a farmer carry is where you have a runway and you have two weights, one on either side, equal, let's say 2 dumbbells or 2 kettlebells, and you make sure, of course, they are the same weight, and you walk straight with a very good pace, very good strides, and you walk and you come back. And this is really powerful because, like some of the others I've mentioned, it transfers so well into real life. Think about the number of times I mentioned already, carrying your groceries. If you go to the shop or to the supermarket and you get the likelihood you get 2 bags as a minimum, and if you're carrying them, if you do have strength on your arms, your farmer's carry, they will be absolutely handy for you. You'll be able to carry them, otherwise you will really suffer. I've had this experience myself before I did a lot of training. So farmer's carry, where does that go? Well, that goes to the A tier, again just slightly under the S tier. This one is one of the best whole body functional exercises for posture, for grip, for gait, and for real world carry strength. So it's really good for your posture, for your whole body posture, for your grip, and grip strength is really powerful. It's a signal of longevity, and for your gait. Now we know that old people, they shuffle, they don't walk properly, they do little shuffles. Now by doing this, if you do this properly, because it requires you to do proper strides, you are training your feet, you are training your nervous system to do proper strides, and this carries on to your real life. If you do this for a period of time, you'll find yourself walking with purpose. You find yourself working, even if you're not carrying anything, with a very powerful walk, which is what is required. Otherwise, one of the ways you can identify an old person, I've said in other videos, is the way they walk. If you saw in a very dark night, you saw somebody walking maybe 50 meters away, 50 yards away, you'll be able to tell if they are an old person or not, just by the way they walk. Not their face, not their figure, not anything else, just the way they walk. And one of the telltale signs is very short, shuffly strides. So this will handle that. So, okay, so let's keep going. The next one is a standing calf raise. Why is a standing calf raise? Well, a standing calf raise is where you find something like a step or some raised surface, and you then put from the middle of your foot onto the flat surface itself, and you have your heel tilting down, and then you raise your body weight so that you exercise your calves. This is really very common, and a lot of us, again, particularly men, because we're always wearing trousers, we tend not to exercise our calves. And calves, for younger people, it's important for aesthetics. Quite frankly, if you've got chicken legs, it don't matter how much your biceps are. But for older people, as I always say, it's a matter of life and death. In fact, I will, if you want, I will make a video about how the size of your calves, the circumference of your calves, are indication of your health, and potentially even your likelihood of early death. It's an indication of your health, effectively. So where does standing calf raise go? So let's do them. The standing calf raise, it goes to tier C. The first one on tier C. Well, why does it go to tier C? First of all, it's useful for ankle strength and lower leg support, but too limited to rank much higher on its own. So that's true. When you do most of the other exercises, such as some of the compound movements, you will probably indirectly exercise your calves anyway. But they are worth isolating to exercise for the simple reason that they tend to be forgotten, and I just don't want them to be left on their own so that they only benefit vicariously. It's better to actually isolate them and exercise them, because they do matter. Okay, so let's keep going. We're almost halfway through. So the next one is resistant band. So resistant bands are used in various ways, but the one I'm talking about here is where you have your band and you pull them to yourself, and you can do various movements with the bands. But and really, these are very useful to over 60s. So I would put them without hesitation to tier B. Okay, excuse me. And they enable, they're good for posture and upper back strength, but not one of the top independence ones. Right, so they are very good. I see them as ones that you should do after doing some of the tier S and tier A ones before you go to them. In fact, that's the way to see this. Depending on the time you have, you should always start by the things that are on tier S. That's why we're doing this ranking. Okay, let's keep going. So the next one we are going to rank is lap pull downs. Lap pull downs, the machines are always in the gyms. Now this is one of those where you probably need a gym to do them, but even though I advocate home training, if you become a member of a gym like I am, you can go there once a week and you can enjoy the camaraderie. But even though I don't advocate the first 90 days of trying to get into a fitness program as an older man over 60, I advocate you train at home for majority of your time. In fact, for the early stages, make sure you train at home so that you get fit a little bit. Otherwise, you feel intimidated. Not least because when you go to a gym, the likelihood is over 90% of the people there are younger people under 30. But also that you might think you don't have the strength or the know-how to do the exercises. If you do try to get a personal trainer, they could just, quite frankly, take your money, and you might not be able to get the most out of it. So it's best to train at home first, using some of the programs we advocate here before you start going to a gym. But let's say if you can go to a gym and you find yourself to a lap pull down machine, it's one of those where you sit and you got your structure at the top, wherein you can either use a bar, or you can use rope, or you can use some sort of handle, and you can either pull to your face or you can pull to the back, depending on what you want to work. And you can do a wide grip or a shorter grip, and you know, when you see the machine itself, it's quite obvious, and you can watch people do it, or you can get a trainer. So where does lap pull down go? Well, lap pull down, it goes to the C tier. So why is that? Well, effectively, it's fine gym movement. If you are in a gym, it's a very good movement, very easy. You just sit down and do your thing, and it's very good for the strength, for the arms, for the for upper strength. But quite frankly, it's lower for men over 60 compared with leg stretch, balance and function. Again, anything for me that trains the lower body, contrary to younger people, anything that trains the lower body should be a priority for people over 60 than the upper body. But do not neglect the upper body. I'm just saying it's quite important to prioritize the lower strength, the lower body strength. Now let's keep going. The next one is a chest press machine. So where does that go? Chest press machine. First of all, what is a chest press machine? Chest press machine is one of those, again, you are far more likely to have them in the gym than you buying it at home. Again, it's a machine wherein you sit down and you got two handles which are adjustable in height. You can bring them lower, you can bring them just parallel to your shoulders, or you can even sometimes bring them higher up. And all you do is you press them, as the name implies. You press them, and when you do that, they do work most of your arms. They work here, but the intention is mostly to work your chest. They create your pec, they create that divider into. I mean, they're quite good in giving you a nice defined aesthetic chest. But you know my views. It's no point doing that if you can't walk. You can't get off a sofa. Okay. So, but nonetheless, let's see what it says. Where do I put that? I certainly will not put it anywhere higher than detail. For the simple reason, it's a powerful exercise. It's really good at sculpturing the chest. But if you are over 60, quite frankly, I don't want you to spend your time doing that for now. It has some value, but if you're training, time is limited. This is not where I would spend my time, to be honest. So let's keep going. Incline push-up. So what's an incline push-up? An incline push-up is where you put your feet on a higher surface, maybe a bench, it could be a stair, and I do this almost every morning, and then you put your feet on the lower side, on the lower feet, and then you put your hands on a chair, on the bench itself. I do the opposite. Okay, I put my feet on the higher place and then tilt down, and most of it are on my arms. But what this one is, your feet are down and you got your bench or your sofa or your chair and you push up on that. It's a bit more easier on someone over 60 as opposed to the one I do, which is the one where I put my feet up and my upper body is lowered, and then I do push up based on that. So it's a very good one. It's better than floor push up for many older people because it's easier, but still it's not top priority exercise for independence. Yeah, so it's okay. It does work your arms, work your upper body, but again, always make sure your lower body is the number one priority. Okay, so that incline push-up, it goes to detail. I hope you are agreeing. By the way, if you disagree with any of these rankings, put a comment and let's have the debate. But please remember, I'm ranking this for over 60s, and I'm ranking this for strength, independence, and dignity for over 60s. It's not for V-taper, for aesthetics, and for just showing how strong you are by moving weights A to B for under 30s in the gym, trying to kind of show off. Okay, so that's not my ranking criteria. Let's keep going. Seated dumbbell overhead press. A seated dumbbell overhead press is where you have your dumbbells, you hold them here, and then you press them overhead. Okay, as the name implies. Now, this is one of those wherein I'll probably, quite frankly, put them on the F tier, the first to go to the F tier. Well, why is that? It's too much shoulder and neck irritation risk for people who are over 60. You are, by doing this, I do this if I'm honest, but I should be careful. But what it does is, whilst you work your pecs and you improve your shoulder strength, it also is quite risky for your shoulders and for your neck. And for an over 60, you don't want to be spending your time doing things that don't create your lower body foundational strength, let alone do something that's going to risk. So even though I have to be open and candid, I have done this myself a little bit, but that's because I invested a lot of time in strengthening my lower body and my core. So sometimes I do this. I consider almost as a as a treat to do that once in a while, but it's not a priority. Okay, let's keep going. Excuse me. Now let's keep going. The next one is pad-off press. Okay, so where does pad-off press is? So pad-off press, what is it to begin with? So it is one of those wherein you press, you hold the cable on and you press, and it's nice anti-rotation core drill, but to be honest, the lower body carryover, even though it's better than standing basics, it's not that actually useful in a carryover. So I don't see this as something that can be very powerful. It cannot be on the S tier or A tier, or even in the B tier. Quite frankly, I'll probably put it on the C tier. It's certainly better than the other ones for an over 60. So I will do that one. Basically, it's where you do your press. It does help the upper body, and it does help me. So the next one we shall do is bad dog. So what's a bad dog? A bad dog is where you go down on your hands and knees, and you then raise one leg at a time, and you engage your core, you engage most of your posterior chain. This is really good, and it engages your trunk, it engages everywhere. Quite frankly, this have to go over on the higher tier, so I'll probably put it on the B tier. It doesn't go to A or S. It's quite helpful for body coordination and for trunk control, but more of a supplement than a main event. So effectively, it's not one of the ones I put on S and A, because you had my justifications for getting into that slot, but it does quite good in terms of maintaining coordination. So it is good to ensure that your core and your nervous system holds up if you are doing a movement. And quite frankly, even though I advocate lower body strength, if your core is not strong or your coordination doesn't hold, you will not benefit from that lower body movement. So that is necessary, and that's one of the best ones you can do. Okay, so the next one is a single leg balance. I've got a video on this, or I've got a video that involves this. So what this is, you stand on one leg and you hold the other leg, and you're trying to balance out, and you have your arms out. Now you notice this is not about strength. Well, there's strength involved because you have to put all your weight on one leg, but this is about balance. The clue is in the name. What it does is it teaches your nervous system to have coordination and balance and be self-aware, and this is quite important. I think I've mentioned so many times, almost in every video in the last weeks or in the last month, I talk about the risk of older people, men over 60, or even older people in general, even if it's women, but this channel I'm talking to men. The chances of them having a sudden death, if not by heart attack, if not by an auto accident, a car accident, it's like to be a fall. So that is not something that most people think about, because when you fall down, you break a bone, and if you break a bone, you are far more likely to be bedridden, and then your muscles will atrophy, and you are on a downward spiral. Most men and women who fall and break a leg, if they're over 60, their chances of recovering over 12 months or living beyond 12 months is in the low, it's not very high, just because of that. So that's the heel to toe. So the next one is Tai Chi weight shift. The Tai Chi weight shift goes into the, what is it in the first place? You see in Tai Chi wherein you do controlled movement, mostly in Hong Kong or in Asia, in China, in Korea they do this, older people do this, and you can see how fit they are. It's really a powerful movement. So if you can do that, that'll be powerful. So that takes you to the A tier. Now we've got one more left. So the stair climb. This is where you lift one leg up and you climb the stairs and you climb down again. And in fact, if you just got the stair, you can do that, practice it. But if you got real stairs, you just keep going up the stairs. But it's better if you just got the step and you climb with one step and then you climb with the other leg. Very similar to the leg step we did earlier. But here you are actually mimicking actual slam tier. I'll put this straight away to S tier because of its transferability. It's brilliant endurance, its conditioning and real life function. Just slightly less like universally scalable than S tier, but it is powerful. It enables you to teach your body on how to climb stairs, and you know how powerful that is in real life, because it enables you. So if, in summary, the most exercises that have made it to the S tier and to the A tier and to the B tier, which are the top 3 tiers, as opposed to C, D and F, are the ones that are transferable to real life for a man over 60, and it enables them to have strength, but not only strength, enables them to have independence and enables them to have dignity. It teaches them to have coordination, balance, endurance, to avoid falls and to avoid lack of dignity, to avoid loss of function, to avoid lack of movement. So did you agree with my ranking? If you did, or even if you did not, please leave a comment. I'd like to hear from you. Alright, so see you in the next video. Now let's go.